That's the team that plays to win for you and me.
Welcome back, Shimboners. On today's pod, we will be reviewing Saturday night's heartbreaking, almost come from behind win, but it was a fight back that just fell short against the Dockers over in WA. We'll be breaking that down. And then, of course, giving our analysis. We've got the Basti, the watch list. It's an action-packed pod, as well as being 120th episode, our favourite number 20s, which we'll get to a bit later with competition for spots, Chief. Usually some of the numbers that's pretty obvious, but 20 has been a decorated number at the North Melbourne Footy Club.
Mine, Gold Star Shinboner gets mine.
Yeah, well, any long-term listeners will be pretty in tune with who you're going to select. I have no doubts about that.
Yes, the patron saint of the CCC.
Right, so we'll start where we always do with our biggest takeaway. What was yours?
I think we brought the fight. We fought, but the fight back was on. Early on we brought the fight. You could see it in players like Larky, and the big fight back comeback almost got all the way. But I was just really happy with the fight in the team.
Yeah, well, it's a good point you make because we watched the game together this week, and I said to you that after the game, that in previous years, we start off well, we have the ascendancy, they have a good 10-minute performance, but then we still lose that game by 10 goals. So to show the resilience to fight back, which is becoming a common theme in this side, in this group, not laying down and fighting it out for the whole 120 minutes, even if we have a bad 10 in there. I think that's a huge tick for this group and the maturity that we're starting to see, led by Luke Parker, who we'll touch on in great detail in this pod.
Yeah, I just want to make it clear, we're not happy with the loss, but we're happy with the fight shown.
Well, here's one for you, and I know a lot of fans feel the same way because I've seen the reaction on social media, but a lot of people are more happy with that performance than the prior week at Bunbury. So
I agree.
You come out with a better taste in your mouth from a loss because of the way we played than the win, which we will really outplay.
Yeah, the style of play. I thought our style looked good in patches, and just the fight. We're going to roll into the first quarter.
Well, I'd actually get a chance to do my biggest takeaway if you're not going to steal the thunder.
Okay. Yeah.
And mine is that we're on the right path, and it sort of ties into yours as well. But easily a game we could have, as I mentioned off the top, just laid down at halftime, and we were on top, but we brought the pressure, and that's got to be the standard. I mean, you're not going to lay 29 tackles inside 50 every week, but that intent is what needs to be our standard from now on.
Oh, no, that could be my phone going off. I could end up on the watch list.
Yeah, I can guarantee you'll be on the watch list because it's only about the 85th time.
I just rolled in from work and just, come on, let's do the pod.
Yes, well, we've got to say to our listeners, we apologise. We didn't get a preview pod. I've been interstate and then also had... for anyone who listened to the last pod, I'd just come off being sick, and then I got gastro from my son. So it's been a rough sort of couple of weeks. So we apologise that there was no preview pod.
No preview, and some of the previews have come to fruition, which if we'd done a preview pod, mainly Big X versus two differing styles of ruckman, which we'll no doubt get into. And just back on the, 28 points down, how many times in the last 5 or 6 years will that turn into a 10-goal loss?
That's exactly the point we've been making.
That's the point we're making. Anyway, let's roll on.
We will touch on the team changes first because we didn't do the preview, but I thought we'll give our opinion. So, your man Chom, only the 2 to 3 week injury, which is probably a tick, realistically, of what it could have been.
Yeah.
But then he was replaced by Cow Dawson, which created a lot of discussion. I was really keen to touch on this point on the preview pod, which obviously didn't happen, so I want to talk about it now. But I think the reason why we didn't see Will Dawson play is because I think that Clarko is very much set that Charlie Comben is a key defender. So I think coming into this season, a lot of fans and I think a lot of people at the club were thinking, it might be a 2-year thing and then he goes forward. I think that's out the window now. I think he's going to be set. We've seen that he can, A, do it defensively, and B, the intercept style and how important that is in good sides these days. So I think that's where he'll be lined up. So Will Dawson, the shotgun, has been playing predominantly forward. I didn't think Clarko wanted to interrupt his progress that he'd been making by playing him down back for a couple of weeks to fill that hole.
Yeah, that's a fair point. But I will say Chom's not yet the full finished product, particularly when it comes to one-on-one defending, although he has improved.
Well, the last 6 weeks before he was injured, he'd become a lot better. Once he'd actually started playing on someone rather than...
Yes, and then intercepting off that, yeah.
Because when
I
earlier in
agree.
the
He's
year,
certainly improved from what he was.
Yeah, but he's finding the balance better because earlier in the year he was trying to come off a Ben Keys sort of player and getting hurt, not knowing when to go. But now he's defending first, then intercepting, and that's why we saw a spike in his form, in my opinion, anyway. So,
Yep.
Cal Dawson was the one to come in, but let's get into our match notes. So the first quarter we'll start with, of course, and
We won. We won the first quarter. Only the second time this year.
third,
was it?
Yeah, we kicked 3 goals, 1. Freo kicked the 2 goals, 5, and it was nice to see Harry Sheasel starting in the middle.
Yes. First centre bounce he was at.
But if you ever want proof that there's cut through on the watch list, Chief, LDU, I put him on last week and he's gone, have a look at this, Baz. The first quarter here he had 14 disposals, 4 clearances, a goal at 93% disposal efficiency. So he was pumped up, ready to go.
He was pumped up. He had the 5 votes almost locked away at that stage. And he was getting some good little tap-ons from X out of the ruck. X just puts it into the space and lets LDU run onto it. Some of the taps are even below the knees. Like he's just, as in coming down from the ruck or in the ruck contest, just getting a little palm in there or forearm to put it in his path. And I thought it was brilliant. That was one of the best quarters I've seen from LDU. Not from any player, I mean. And LDU is certainly worth the price tag just for that quarter alone.
Yeah, the thing with him is we need that every second week at least, not once a month like he has been.
Yeah, that's right.
But that goal I want to touch on as well. That was a class finish. Like that could easily have been, the old sprayed snap and it's a point and we don't get reward. But he was right on. I thought George Wardlaw didn't have a ton of the footy early, but I thought his pressure was massive.
Well, his bump set up the first goal.
It did.
Yeah, just a 1%er.
Zach Fisher had a great finish on his left foot finally. I thought he was allergic to kicking goals. He had that many chances in that snap position, but he converted. And my man, the Shees. So Baz's big call from the West Coast game. I'm still claiming it. No preview pod, so it stayed in place.
Yep.
And we got him on the scoreboard, which was great.
Yep.
But yeah, as I mentioned, off the top, the pressure was huge. The stoppage work was on fire. Harry was back. We were flying. I think LDU had 14 the first. Harry had 13. They were working as a 2-man tandem perfectly. We were right on top. Didn't get the reward that we probably should have, but...
Right, you finished?
Oh, go.
No, I'm just saying we came to play. I've got that written in bold. Like, Clarko, whatever he put in there pre-game drink, do it again forever. Because they were all fired up. Big Silv was fired up, wasn't he? He was giving maximum effort in the first. You could see right from the first quarter he was chasing, harassing hard. He wasn't necessarily having a great game at that stage, but you could. I reckon someone got in his ear and said, "Enough of this waving the arms at the umpires when you don't get free kicks. Just get after the ball." And you could see.
I've no doubt that he got a rocket during the week.
Yes, and he shouldn't need a rocket, especially when you're vice captain. But it was a much more intense effort from him, and I loved it. And I thought Big Griff Logue was good, getting in big spoils down the back line. He looked like he'd probably got the same message, I reckon, and he came to play as well.
Well, do you know what? I think that what we have seen is that 4-week stretch in the VFL, he's actually got some fitness, and he doesn't look like a Mack truck when he's trying to turn now. He actually looks fit, and he got some really good and important spoils as well.
And I've got also in my notes good ball movement. We had some really attacking good ball movement. You don't do it all the time, 100% of the time, but that was probably coinciding with LDU, just breaking out of the stoppages.
Yep.
Fast ball movement.
I've got some negatives to touch on. Have you got any more positives from that opening term?
That'll do. I thought the forwards, going on with the Silver's effort, they were bringing the ball to ground well when they weren't getting outmarked.
So I thought some of the negatives, we had a hold in the ball call, which was dubious, but then it just went down the other end too easily. Cow Dawson, Riley Hardiman both were pushed over the footy way too easily. Didn't get an impact on that, and Freo converted. I thought Caleb Daniel, we had a shocking end to the quarter, gave away a 50 and almost a costly goal to lose us the lead. And yes, I know what you're going to say, that it was a little bit soft and the Freo player fell to ground, but...
He LeBron'd it.
You've
For
got to
those
be.
basketball fans. He put Tomei on it, but the umpire bought what he was selling. And what I'm worried about then, Daniel did not have the pace to run with him to keep him behind him, like on the mark.
I think he's got a permanent little mini treadmill under him.
Well, he has. Well, he's only got the little legs and they're pumping, but he hasn't got pace. So that was a worry. When you bring the bloke to ground, he's on the ground. You've got to get up and make him run past you. Like, you got to sprint back. And once he got behind, he could not catch him. So that's a worry for me. I noticed it a few times with Daniel. He lacks pace. He lacks size, defensive. Because of his size, he's a liability defensively, especially on they're all larger, but a much larger opponent, which only means you're about Collingwood 6-footer to be much larger than him. And we've got to to pay that off. You've got to get the elite ball use, which we're getting sometimes, but not all the time. And it's not that damaging because he's only a 25 to 40 metre kick, isn't he? And he doesn't get the run and receives like a Colby will and can break it open with leg speed because, as I just said, he hasn't got the leg speed. So he's just a watch for me.
Well, that's a perfect segue because I want to talk about Colby, and we love what he can do, the run and carry and creative ball use, but he had too many turnovers in that first quarter. And they were simple kicks too, which was really frustrating.
Yeah, they weren't the overly aggressive kicks. They were kicks...
Because you can live with those, can't you?
They were kicks you'd expect someone of his class to make, and he normally does make them. That's why I had that down as well, probably because you were in my ear about it the whole first quarter.
But yeah, as I mentioned, the tackling is the best it's been. We set a new record for inside 50 tackles with 29.
Yep.
I'm getting a bit ahead of myself here, but Paul Curtis, he didn't have a huge game offensively, but he had 9 tackles inside 50.
That's massive.
I'm fairly certain, I'll just get my stats up here, but I reckon that was more. Yes, it was. He had more tackles inside 50 than Fremantle.
Yeah. We were hunting the ball, and it was fantastic. But we just couldn't quite get the full reward for the dominance or the time we had in forward line. And the problem is, when it lives in your forward line, you're open to that fast break out to one-on-ones going back the other way, aren't you?
You are. We'll move on to...
And it's nothing worse. You have the ball in your forward line for 6 or 7 minutes and you don't score, or you just score points and then they kick a goal as soon as they get it.
Exactly right. We'll move on to the second term where we kicked 1 goal, 2, heavy rain, but Freo kicked 3 goals in 38 seconds to finish with 5 goals, 1 in that second term.
38 seconds, about 30 of that's a Harvey Norman ad after a goal. So that was game time.
Yes.
So it's about 5 minutes real time.
Yes, well, it felt like...
it's a bit like watching the last quarter of the NFL.
Oh, no NFL clips on here. You can clip the NBA, but I'm a massive NFL fan for...
Yeah, but it takes forever.
Yeah, it's a great sport, though.
Yeah.
It is great.
It's a half a day watch for 48 minutes of game time.
Let's talk some negatives to start. I thought Jacob Constanti's ball use was horrendous, and he's a watch for me. I think you summed it up perfectly. I don't want to steal your thunder, so I'll give you the credit.
I'd have forgotten what I said.
But you said during the call that he doesn't have a great footy IQ. He's just a bit of a dumb footballer at times. He makes dumb decisions. I don't want to say he's dumb, but he makes poor decisions.
We're talking football-wise. Yeah. And his ball use isn't great. Like, a couple of times he butchered it, didn't he?
And he was
going forward. He was the last kick to what should be a score or hit someone up who can score, and he just... Not under much pressure, just the pressure to hit the kick, and he couldn't do it or make the right decision, and he made the wrong one. So if he had that in his game, that he let's say Robert Hansen Jr., who's a similar age and experience level, when he gets it and he's out, you feel a lot safer that he's going to make the right decision and hit the right kick.
Well, we'll get to him in the last term, but wowee, what a little stretch from him. Another negative I want to talk about. Obviously, that 10-minute stretch where Freo changed the game really hurt us and ended up costing us the game. But someone who had a really poor game and someone who I thought was stiff to be dropped early in the year when he was. But Cow Dawson, he had a shocker. And he had a couple of really poor efforts. Well, one in particular in that second quarter. He went down one-handed to try and pick the ball up and just didn't put his body over the footy and it ended up in a Fremantle goal. It was one of those 3 in that 38 seconds of game time stretch, which... You just need, and he's 26 years old. Yes, he's a mid-season, but he's a bigger body. He just had to take the tackle and create a stoppage
Yeah.
when they're on that run.
Yeah, and there was another one where Voss led out, he was behind him, and Voss got back first for the crumb. So he's obviously U-turned around him. He's got to you've got to get the bumper bar up and stop him getting back in front of you, or beat him back. But he did neither.
Well,
And Voss ran into an open goal.
He looked like Carey in that 10-minute stretch.
I
He was
know.
everywhere.
So Cal Dawson, needs to be better, and he's, as you said, at his age. I think we've got younger keys on the list that are going to overtake him. So I don't know how much longer he's got on the list.
Yeah, and the direct competition he's got in terms of out of contract key defenders is the big Pink Pony Club, Big Tobias,
Yes.
and he's certainly gone past him.
Yes, he has.
Let's talk about a couple of positives in that second quarter then. I thought LDU, we know what he did offensively in that first quarter, but in the second quarter he had a great chase on Jordan Clark, who is one of the fastest players in the competition, and then followed up by an elite kick from Riley Hardiman.
Yep.
Which is, he's not getting the same numbers, Riley, that he was, but impact every time he gets the footy. And we'll get into a bit more detail about some of his defensive efforts in the second half, but he's based his game off that now.
Yes.
He's not your typical, let's just call a spade. With Daniel, you get in the offense, but you're not getting the defense, whereas Riley Hardiman's finding that balance perfectly.
Yep, I agree. And we like the ball in his hands too, don't we? He's just a good, long, penetrating, fast kick.
All right, you ready for crack number one at the umpires? Because it was in the second quarter. That is one of the worst calls I've seen, that Nick Larkey non-holding the ball on the goal line. And it went out before it crossed the line, for anyone who thought, maybe it's just gone over in the tackle. It actually got out of the tackle before.
Fell out of his hands. The umpire, to be fair, was probably blindsided by when it fell out. That's the only excuse I can find him. The other excuse I thought was, it's a pro-Freo crowd because it's in their home stadium, home fans. But it was right in front of our cheer squad.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they were giving plenty of advice as to what happened.
A shout out to my cousin, your nephew, the Frog.
The Frog's son.
Josh. Geez, that's a big family tree for the
Well,
listeners. Try and
it
get
is.
the...
He was there.
Get the string and the dots out to connect that, but
He was there holding the banner pre-game and in the cheer squad.
he was. So we know he was
So
very
we know
vocal.
If he shares our genes, he would be.
Anything else from the second quarter before we move on?
Oh, no, just that patch that really killed us. We were bees to the honeypot, weren't we? It was a contested game. You get all the tackles because you're after the player with the ball, but it happens to us too often. They release the handball, and once they get it to the outside, good luck. I mean, I was watching the replay of the goals, and our midfielders were chasing them. But once you give them 5 minutes head start, no one, Usain Bolt Prime will be the only person chasing them down.
But we weren't putting enough faith in their teammates. So not backing the first player to make the tackle.
That is, you got to back your player in to make the tackle and stick the tackle, and then that's how you become a more defensive midfield unit. But they're all ball hunters and winners. And it's very hard when your instinct is there's a half loose ball, or I can be the second bloke in to tackle. And so I understand why they do it, and that's where the experience comes in, where you just got to know hold. You just got to hold with your player. And it's not just one, it's more, because if you hold on yours and the other two are free, then it's no good.
Exactly.
It's the old
One
weakest link in the chain theory.
And if you want a good example of what that looks like, just go back to any sort of stoppage from Saturday's game and watch Luke Parker, because he does that exceptionally well. Obviously, different stages of his career to a lot of our young heads, but that's the standard, and that's the benefit of having him, is he will teach that.
And that's why they say you got to get to 50 games, then 80 games, and then you spring. So they've got the talent, they just haven't got the cohesion as a unit all the time. And 3 minutes of breakdown, 3 goals.
Exactly, and that's the thing. It's only a split-second moment,
Yep.
and you do 98% of the game. You hold your defensive position, but like you mentioned, those 3 minutes, 38 seconds of game time, and it really costs you.
Yep.
All right, let's get into the third quarter. We kicked 2 goals 2. Fremantle kicked 2 goals 3. So pretty tightly contested, but we wasted a lot of opportunities. I thought Jack Darling, Dylan Stevens and Griffin Logue all had fantastic quarters. Constanti had a really poor advantage that he took after Larky got a free kick about 45 out, and he missed the kick by 10 metres. Like, it's probably the right... But in those conditions, like if you're under the lid at Marvel, it was probably the right call. But when we'd been consistently getting it back inside 50, looking for that opportunity to score, and someone who's horrendously out of form, as he was prior to this point, Nick Larky had a pretty quiet game. And he's got the opportunity. I reckon he would have probably given JK a bit of feedback as well.
Yeah, I think JD, Jack Darling, was really good. Like some clutch contested marks in difficult marking conditions, as you covered. And I've just got tackling in bold again. We're just a tackling machine as a team. And you bring the heat, it causes turnovers.
And I want to give a massive shout out to one of my fast becoming, I reckon he's entering top 3 favourite players at the club territory. And he's only played 13 games, or probably 12. I think he missed one earlier in the year. Finn O'Sullivan had a horrendous moment, right? And then he looked silly, but we all, replayed. He missed the goal off the ground in the goal square where you think, pick it up. But I've had a look at the behind the goals footage, and the Fremantle player, I think it might have been Erasmus, don't quote me on that, he ran into the umpire. So Foss wouldn't have known that. That's why he's chosen to kick it off the ground.
I didn't mind so it's in the goal square. You just got to put a boot on it, and unless it comes right, you really shank it. To use golfing terminology, it's going to be a goal. But the ball was spinning like a top, and I think it just spun away from his boot a bit. It's on its point.
But I want to give him...
So I didn't mind the fact you didn't pick it up, and I didn't know what you just told me, and probably most of the listeners, that there was a bit of umpire blocking. Yeah. Maybe that was the only help we got from the umpires, and we still managed to stuff it up.
I reckon they thought, oh shit, we missed the Larky one. We'll put a little block on.
He's put the screen on for Foss.
But I want to give massive credit to Foss, Finn O'Sullivan, for the way he responded after that. Easy as an 18-year-old to go, shit, I stuffed this up. I've cost us a goal in a tight game. But he had incredible defensive moments, going back with the flight to put a spoil on Michael Frederick. I thought his second half was fantastic. He was involved in everything. He's such a talented young player. He's going to be so good for us. But I think the fact that he's a country lad, a bit more resilience, isn't it? It's exactly. Footy's not the end of the world. You move on rather than
pick yourself up,
dust yourself off.
On you go.
Yeah.
Next contest.
Exactly. Like fall over as a kid. You just get up and brush it off.
Yeah.
Mate. Not to the first aid kit. You just just give it a brush and keep playing. So
no crying. You're all right, lad. Get up.
All right, Clarko. You got the Clarko-isms.
Yeah, we've got work to do.
Gone a bit off track. Anything else for the third quarter before we move on?
No, I think you've covered it.
Right, let's get to the last quarter, and this is where we saw...
sorry, I have got one. Parker's clutch goal. How good was that?
Yes. Thanks for bringing that up, because that was...
clutch goal. That was from the mark around the 50, wasn't it? Yeah. He's such a valuable asset to our club.
Oh, he's great. We love him. Last quarter, Freo kicked 1 goal 4. We kicked the 4 goals 2 to storm home and almost take the victory. But it's time to give this man his flowers. He hasn't been in the notes all game. But Luke McDonald played a great game, particularly that last quarter. He had a clutch tackle on Voss, and he was always playing undersized. Barely lost a one-on-one. Barely made a mistake by hand or by foot. He missed one handball from memory that was a bit of a shank. But besides from that, he was fantastic. And we're seeing the best of him. And the fact that he's had a bit of a weight lifted off his shoulders when releasing the captaincy. And I want to put an addition to the watch list. I'm putting myself on there.
Twice.
Even raising his name last week.
Yeah, well, I was going to get to that. But we don't like clipping each other too much. But you're going to cop that, but you've owned up to it, so well done to you. I'll pick you up on, we didn't have him in the notes much. I had his name written down, I think, every quarter. I had him in the votes at half-time.
Yeah, well, we haven't mentioned him, is what I'm
No, yes, because I just write players' names and we don't mention them all. It's more incidents we mention rather than good players, but I do keep a note of who's playing well, so it makes it easier when I do the Basti, the most prestigious, at the end of it.
Because it's a 4-quarter award, exactly.
It is a 4-quarter game.
Some more positives. I thought Colby McKercher really lifted. Whenever he's going, we look such a better team. And we played with freedom. The rain had obviously stopped for those who watched, are well aware. But his run and carry, Nick Larkey found some form, ended up kicking 3 goals. Great to see. Makes those who wanted him drop look a bit silly, I think. But
Yep.
it just shows that when we play a more attacking brand and he can get genuine one-on-ones and not the ball dumped on his head, that's where he's dangerous.
Yep, and I've got a double tick next to the super sub's name, Robbie Hanson Jr. I thought he was fantastic.
Well, I've got a stat for you that he played 38 minutes game time and had the game high in goal assists.
Yeah.
He was everywhere.
Yeah.
He's got to play the full game for mine next week. And I was critical along with a lot of supporters, I feel, when he came back in because he hadn't been lighting it up at VFL level. But it seems that he had obviously a couple of directives to go back and work on, not necessarily getting high possession or hitting the scoreboard.
Yep.
Might have been just specific things that he had to do. And yeah, what a last quarter he had.
Yes, well, the VFL, we've got to remember, as much as we're winning and we like to win, it is a development area for younger players, which we've got plenty of. So, yeah, I thought he was good, very good. Someone who had a quieter day, I don't know if you mentioned it, Simpkins' tackle. He was playing on the wing, he had a quieter day, but he had an immense tackle in the last quarter, a bit similar to Elmax.
Yeah, he had a shocker. He had a shocker every day, but that was a really important tackle, and it ended up with the Parker goal, if you remember. And what I liked about the Parker goal, his second one, is he called Larkey to come up and lead, son. If you watch the footage,
yes, and then he had to kick it himself because everyone runs back to goal. How about we do some old-fashioned forward work? Maybe have one worrying back to goal. Maybe the other bloke. You're both going to end up in the goal square. Maybe do a tick lead and come back up. Hook lead, head up at the ball carrier. It's an easy kick. Anyway, that's my rant.
Yeah, I agree.
Too much of this over the back, Joe the Goose type stuff.
Yeah, he said lead
and
up.
It's not just North, it's AFL wide.
Yeah. Forward craft slowly dying, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, lead up at the footy, son, so I can put it over your head and throw the big sticks. I love it. Someone who didn't have a high disposal game, but I want to give massive credit to, and I'm actually going to nominate him for the True Shimbrone Award, was my man Cam.
Because, well, I agree. I've got a couple of nominations, but he's my winner.
Yeah, because he was just getting banged up. Would have been easy on a wet night. You know, you sore as shit to go, sub me off, Clarko, or,
Oh, he's not going to say that, but yeah, he could have easily been talked into it, but he was like car crash. Every quarter he was getting smashed.
And it's easy when that's happening to sort of look for the cheapie out the back. But he kept putting himself in that position and creating a contest.
Exactly. Loved it.
I think it's not being spoken about that I think his leadership has stepped up this year on field. I don't think he's a massive vocal leader, but he's definitely a lead by example.
Yeah. And he was very sore. I mean, he's normally fairly quick to get up, but it was like being in a car crash 2 or 3 times, and he was very slow getting up. Once he actually went off as well, and they stopped the play, didn't they?
Yeah.
Or at least till he cleared the area. So, yeah, well done, Cam. And I'll just go back to Simpkin. You might be able to look up the stats while I'm talking, but how many CBAs did he have? Because I noticed he was on the wing a lot, and I suspect he was probably half forward. So with the wing, we saw Stevens get high possessions. Quite often the other winger doesn't get as much because they're playing up and down the one side, if you know what I mean.
I don't have the CBAs in front of me, but from memory, it would have been, you could count them on one hand.
Yeah, I can't remember him being in there a lot. So I reckon that if you're just looking at disposals, I think that could be a reason why.
Yeah, we only finished with 11 for those who...
Yeah, so I wouldn't say shocking. I'll pick you up on that.
Well,
if he's playing wing and one wing is getting 27, then quite often, it's not very often both wingers get high or mid-20s.
Well, he wasn't playing... He was playing wing when Foss was off. I think a lot of the time he was high half forward.
Yeah,
and just struggled to impact.
And Parker did as well. He made his biggest impact when he went into the middle in the last quarter.
Yeah, well, I just think it was a poor game from Jai.
Yeah, well, I've brought you from shocking back up to poor.
Oh, I just think it was probably his worst game of the year.
Yeah, probably.
For him, anyway.
But maybe he had the opposite effect. He graduated from the watch list.
Got a bit happy with himself, you reckon?
Yes.
Let's talk about Riley Hardiman and his important spoil.
Yes, well, we'll go to the true shinbone moments of the week. Well, that's one, getting the knuckles. Just flick the knuckle, didn't it?
Do you know the most underrated part of that is? It was Jai Miss he was matched up on, who's about 196.
Yeah, and putting the shepherd on, he still got the stretch in to get the knuckles on it and touch it through for a important point. I think I had someone else in for the Shimbona nomination. Probably Parker just for his absolute determination and want to win that game. You could see it on his face. You could see it, more importantly, by his actions, and he was determined. But the winner, we've covered, your man Cam. 2 weeks in a row, I think he's won it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so look out.
That's the way, son. But, yeah, our midfield dominated, as I mentioned, and it was good to see. And I thought Tristan Sherry's battle with Jackson and Darcy was a really interesting one to keep note of. And just to step out of that for a second, I thought Jack Darling competed really, really well when he came in. That was a big worry of mine going into the game.
Yep.
And I thought he halved the contest pretty well.
Yeah, I think, like I mentioned before, Big X putting it into space for LDU particularly to run onto it. I thought he battled 2 different styles of ruckman. Like, you got the young, leaping extra midfielder in Jackson, and then you got the big brute. You may question his skin folds.
Well, not anymore. He's probably lost too much.
But he's a big brute, and he tried to rough or play X at his own game with a bit of physicality, and if X had fight back, he'd give away a free kick. I mean, the free kick count in the ruck all went their way. I don't think X did he get one. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, his head got smashed.
Well,
about 10
that's
times.
my next point. The umpires have got to realise he wears a helmet, because every time he gets smashed in the head, they don't pay a free kick.
You got protection, son. You don't need the
Yeah, well, I don't know. Take the helmet off and show them I've actually got a head here. Refs, umps. But that one in the last quarter where he was down picking the ball up and he got run through with someone's hip. That's the whole reason. That's almost weeks.
Yeah.
In some, poor old Jacko Archer or bloody PC did it. They'd be looking at weeks. He didn't even get a free kick. There was another one where he got taken high and Jai was going off about it, and no free kick.
No,
We don't expect every free kick, but if you get taken high, we're meant to be protecting the head. There's so many soft ones that poor old X puts his head over and gets smashed and doesn't get anything.
And just some others in that last quarter. LDU got taken high.
Fife
was about to hand him the ball
He was about
back.
to throw the ball back, and nothing to see here. Play on. That was a vital point of the game, wasn't it?
And then in our in our forward 50, Fife had it and did a rugby throw. And
They'd have to be blindsided, you'd hope, because we had
blindsided by the Purple Haze is what
Well,
they're blindsided by.
Yeah, we don't get... It'd be nice when one day we actually get a run of the freeze.
But just going back to that ruck battle, I think Freo missed a massive trick there. Like, if I was Justin Longmuir, I'd be isolating when Tristan Sherry comes off. You'd want Luke Jackson in the ruck then, because his ability to spread from stoppage and be that extra mid and take him forward with his leap.
Yep.
I couldn't believe that they'd left Darcy, because JD's got giant shoulders and just sort of bumped him and battled him and halved the contest as best he could. So I think they missed a massive trick there, Freo.
Yeah, well, I agree. Well, thank goodness they did.
Yeah, and Freo fans, the pressure's on old Justin, isn't it? But just on Foss, I want to make one last point, because that kid is a star. But I think he's playing on the wing. He's looking really comfortable. The 15 to 20 disposals you're seeing from him, that's as good as 30 from others, because of how smart he is, how poised he is, and how good he is by foot.
Yep. All right, let's move on to the most prestigious award in all of the AFL, the Basti.
Right, you can have the new ball this week.
Right.
Use it well.
Well, I've got to find my notes.
I'm not sure how we feel about a cricket analogy after
that was
the World Test Championship, but get into your votes. Have you found them?
No, I haven't.
Well, you're having a mare. Right, I'm going to go first then. I gave 5 votes to Harry Sheasel. I thought he's well and truly back, and a bit of stability for Harry, playing mostly mid with some time in the forward line, but he had the 32 disposals, 6 tackles, which is an important part that he's doing his work defensively as well. 3 clearances and 9 marks. So really good game from him. The 4 votes I gave to Luke McDonald. Very unlucky not to get the 5, but he was awesome. He was everywhere. And the best game I've seen him play in probably 5 years since his Sid Barker year. He had the 27 disposals, 8 marks, and absolutely tried his heart out all night. 3 votes I gave to LDU, 27 disposals, a goal, 5 tackles. He was really important. Sort of faded out of the game towards the last 3 quarters, but whether that was Freo putting bit more attention to him with a
Well, he got a
Bradshaw
tag.
also. So.
No, well, you got Corey Wagner tag.
Oh, he did too. Yeah,
Came off the wing.
Former boner.
Former boner. But no longer. And they had to send someone to him after he's probably the most dominant quarter in the AFL this year.
I reckon. Unless someone's kicked a bag in a quarter, which
Yeah.
I don't think. The 2 votes I gave to Disco Stevens, 27 disposals from him, ran up and down all day, was important in getting in the chain. And the 1 vote, lots of options here, but I've settled on Luke Parker. I thought he changed the game for us. His experience in the midfield was understated, I think, and 20 and 2 is just what you want from him, and 7 clearances to go along with that. So he changed the game when he went in the midfield and really showed some true leadership, getting us into a winning position.
Yeah. All right, my votes. I gave 5 to Elmac. I thought that was fantastic. Probably the best game he's played since his Sid Barker year. And if that was, say, a young player, say Foss, or remember against Collingwood when went off about the hard man.
Yeah.
Imagine if that was one of them playing a game like that with the you ready stats out earlier. Just fantastic. And I think his ball use was good. He had that one horrible handball right at the end.
But no player goes at 100.
No, that's right. I mean, that was an unforced error, his handball, but he did clean up his own mess. So,
I'll tell you what, there's a certain portion of the internet fans that wouldn't be happy because he's a whipping boy.
He is, but we judge every game on its merit, and I thought he was absolutely fantastic. Long penetrating kicks, put his body on the line. That's never been a question mark for him. He always does that, but he got more of the ball and what a fantastic. Obviously Hardiman he had a quieter game, and a younger player obviously, but a quieter game, and Elmac steps up. So I think that's what we need. We're never gonna have them all firing because you don't get enough possessions. But it was his turn this week, and he was fantastic. LDU, that first quarter, he had 5 votes written all over him from them, but he did taper off a bit, got the hard tag, but I still think he was influential enough to get the 4. Harry gets 3, probably a bit of Harry tax there. Probably his use wasn't quite up to his standard. He got a lot of possessions, but his
If you look at
his
the stats,
efficiency was probably down a little bit.
I think everyone's was. If you look at the stats, because of the conditions.
Exactly. Stevens, you covered him running up and down the wing, lots of possessions, 4-quarter effort, and one to my man X. It battled 2 behemoths in the ruck, and I think he got the points overall.
Yeah.
I think it
was probably a 51-49.
Yeah, but he battled 2.
I agree.
2 blokes.
Yeah. I think
you're going to fight with 2 blokes. See how you come out.
Well, and they mentioned it in the post game as well. But if you told me going in that Darcy would be the one that probably got the better of him, I would have been surprised.
Well, he's a similar type. He's more your bull arm in.
Well, the problem there is he does all that. He does 10 minutes of hard work against Jackson, but bodying him, stopping his leap. And he's bloody spent, and then he gets this.
He gets a fresh player.
Yeah.
That's why he had to get a vote. And I said to you during the call, it's like he's wrestling out there for 2 hours, and against 2, there's always a fresh opponent coming onto him. So, well done, X. I think Coley was unlucky. It was probably just his ball use in the first quarter that cost him. Parker obviously was immense when he had his time.
Well, I think George.
George, I forgot my boy Georgie. He was good. He was. In patches again, but he was very good when he was on.
Griffin Logue, he was really close to mine.
He was in mine too at half time. I think I had him in. He was good. He's another one who's a bit of a whipping boy, but I thought he was solid. He did his role defensively.
I think he's been really good the last 2 weeks.
Have you got a score update because we missed it last week?
I do. Your man X still well and truly in front on the Ryan Bastanak Player of the Year leaderboard on 70. Parker in second on 36. Sheasel follows him on 34. PC on 30 and LDU on 27. There's a big log jam after X.
Well after X.
Yeah.
He's double the next player.
Not quite, but...
Well, near enough.
Yeah.
You're splitting hairs if you say he's not double. That's how good. Fights 2 men during the game is better than 2 men on the Basti.
Right, I don't know why you're putting your book down because it's time to get into the watch list, Chief.
Oh, yeah, well, I was just glowing about X and thought I've had enough. But we better do the watch list. Bailey Scott played VFL.
How'd it go? You watched all the VFL?
It was okay. I couldn't watch it all in one hit. Or didn't watch it all I had to be in and out of it a bit, so I can't give a full report. Griff Lowe gets a tick. We've covered him. You'd be happy with that. Caleb Daniel, I'll give him a tick.
No.
A dash. What were his? Well, I don't like just going off stats. I thought he was okay. I mean, he wasn't bad.
Well, you just potted him for his defensive liability.
Yeah, but you can't help how tall he is, and I don't think he's ever been fast, and he's not getting any faster.
Well, he went at 87, so in those conditions,
Yeah, I'm giving him a tick too. I thought he played his role, and that's 4 in a row
for CD.
Yeah, so he's off.
Jeez.
He was probably unlucky not to come off last week with 3 in a row. I think we missed him.
Yeah,
last week.
there was too many graduates.
How'd he go last week?
No, he's pretty good against West Coast.
Yeah, so he's definitely off. So another graduate, he's off. Well, Tucker's out for the year. So we might take
take Tucker off.
Yeah, we'll take him off. He can't do anything.
He's not going to finish his time at North.
He only had
We did it for Hugh.
Yeah, we did do it for Hugh Greenwood. So we'll set the standard. Nick Larkey gets a tick for mine. It wasn't his best game, but he brought the effort early and then he got rewarded with goals. He did enough for me to get a tick. It's better than a dash, I thought.
I agree because of his defensive buy-in.
Yeah, and that's got to be the standard. Not just with him, but particularly with him because he has bad body language and looking at the ump saying, "Why didn't he get a free kick?" And
he's vice.
I've never seen an ump. Yeah, and he's vice captain. I've never ever seen an umpire change their mind.
I have.
When?
When Constanti socking that one through and Finbar got the free and then...
As soon as I said that, I thought, I know I've seen one. So there's the one. There's the
That's the only time I've ever seen it.
That's the one that proves the rule, or what's that saying? Anyway, we'll move on. Aiden Core was injured. We're not taking him off yet because he may come back.
He will come back.
You're on there for your next game at North. The North boys haven't had a chance and we don't want them to get a chance, and LDU gets a massive tick.
And I will share a comment you made. I said to you after the game or during the game that Cal Dawson should go on the watch list. You said, no, he's not even worthy of that. So that's how well you thought of his game.
Well, I better put him on then because that would be unfair, but that was obviously the heat of the game.
Well, I think he's got to be on there.
Cal Dawson. Right, he's on.
Look, I don't think you're going to have much to...
Are you still putting yourself on the second time?
No, just to watch.
I'll put myself on for my phone going off. Hasn't happened for a while, but...
3 ticks and the frog's back. That's all. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, 3 X's, you mean?
Yeah, sorry, 3 X's.
Gee, if I get offered and I'm cut, that's a bit harsh.
Right, moving on from a bit of waffle there, but we'll get into our favourite number 20.
Right.
I'll let you go first.
Can I go first?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
Are you ready this time, or is it going to be like the Basti where you got?
I did write a couple of notes because I wanted. This is my favourite player of all time, and I had to get it right. Number 20, Wayne Schimmelbusch. 306 games. First Jimboner to 300 games. Captain, premiership player. Never won a best and fairest, which is a disgrace. However, he played in elite teams, or finals teams when he was playing. In his 300th game, it was against Geelong. Guess who he played on? It'd be hard for you to guess. Think of one of the greatest players of all time. And Shimmer, in his 300th game, at a 179 centimetres, had to play on Gary Ablett.
I was about to say, Ablett!
Yeah, that's who he had to play on.
How'd he go on him?
Schimmelbusch, Brownlow night, 2 votes. Towed him up.
So, Gary, I was waiting for you to say if Ablett got the 3.
No, I don't know who got the 3, but I do remember that because it was on the winners. And obviously, then I remember Brownlow night. The Geelong cheer squad, on their banner, congratulations, Shimmer, 300 games. On the Geelong banner.
Gee, you don't say that very often.
No, this is the respect the competition had for the man. Robbie Flower, I don't know if you're aware of him, being a younger follower, but he was a Melbourne champion. He was their games record holder for a long time. A winger, played a lot of games on Shimmer, said, you can never tell with Shimmer what the score was. Because if they were 10 goals up or 10 goals behind, didn't matter. He went hard at every contest and played the same. So there was no sooking it up, hands on the hips with him. He was just fantastic. If you're going to model your game on anyone, him. He's just tried his guts out the whole time. There's a famous 1985 elimination final where we came from about 30 points down against Carlton at VFL Park, which was the biggest ground. You'd fit 2 bloody Etihads into it probably. It was a massive ground, and he ran himself into the ground that day. What else have I got on him? That'll probably do. I said he didn't win the best and fairest. His last year, he captained Victoria, did his knee against Sydney, and I think he was that far in front in the Sid. It did matter because he didn't end up winning it. Matty Larkin won it, but I think Matty Larkin knew he'd probably,
Bradbury.
Well, not, yeah. Oh, he deserved it, but I mean, Shimmer had to finish the year. I don't know, it was about halfway through the year he did his knee, and because he already captained Victoria. So just an elite player, respected throughout the league, and if you wanted your son to play footy, you'd want it to be like Shimmer. Just never give up. True Shimboner, and I've said the patron of the CCC.
That's what he's based on. Well,
It's based on him. You don't have to be the best player, but you just got to give effort, and that's all he knew to do.
Right.
Who have you got? I don't really care. No, there are some good other number 20s, but I didn't even look at them.
Well, during my time watching footy, I've only ever seen 2.
Oh.
So it's a 2-man race.
Yep.
And unfortunately, our current number 20 has been pipped. So, sorry, Sorv, I do love you, but you're not today's choice, because one of my favourite all-time players wore the number 20, and it was good to see him at the club during the week over in Perth. He stopped in and actually did some work with Sorv.
Yeah, and said compete.
My man, Drewy Petrie. He played the 316 games. Frank the Tank, we were there.
We
One
were
of the
there
best
that
moments
day.
I've seen.
Yep.
5-time leading goal kicker, an All-Australian, and the best award for him was the inaugural longest kick winner. I'm sure that's what he loves to talk about.
Over the Yarra.
Yeah, he gets asked about it every interview he does, poor bugger. But
Yeah.
so big Drewy, I loved him. Speak about competing. He often outnumbered, and he was one of the most unselfish full forwards I've seen. Boomer probably got an extra 60 goals.
Oh, he loved feeding Boomer. Boomer loved running past for a handball from Drew.
But also in the fact that in his latter years, when playing with Jared Waite or Ben Brown, like he would take the best defender and just play a very unselfish role, creating the space for the other forwards. So he was the ultimate team man, a true shimboner, and I loved watching Drewy. And obviously those games where he kicked 7 goals and then he kicked 5 1/4 against the Dogs, or was it 6 in Archer's 300?
Oh, 6.
6, yeah.
6 in the first quarter. That's the way to set a game up.
That's
probably Pip's LDUs.
Yeah.
now you mentioned it.
He's got a strong set of jukes. He still would now. And he's still fit as a fiddle. Looks like he could play. He ran a half marathon recently or something, I read.
Oh, wow.
So, fit as a fiddle. Probably mid-season draft. We could have got Drew. But, and just seems like a great team man. So, he was my choice, big Drewy Petrie.
Yes, and just on Drew, he was a great swing man as well. He could go in the ruck. I remember a game I was watching at Carrara, of all places. I think they were playing Brisbane. I don't know why we were playing Brisbane at Carrara, but Drew got swung to centre half back and just swung the game for us. Just was a rock. They couldn't get past him, centre half back, so he could play back, forward, and more than pinch hit in the ruck. Yeah, great choice by you.
Yes, Nick, you might be there in a couple of years' time, but
well, like so. Yeah. I hope so. Yes.
Well, just to clarify, if there's any irregular listeners or first-time listeners, it's not the best player; it's our favourite player.
Yeah, that we've seen.
So I can't take Shimmer because I wasn't alive.
No, that's right.
I've never seen him play, except on replay. Anyway, let's move on to listener questions. Thanks once again, everyone who've sent them in. We'll start on Instagram with Deb28, who says, "Callan Dawson out for good? ? Will has earned this opportunity, and or Whitlock. What are your thoughts?" Well, I mentioned off the top that I think the plan with Will Dawson seems to be that he's just going to play forward and develop, have a year of development as a forward. As for Whitlock, I didn't get to watch the reserves on the weekend, but have you got any thoughts on how he looked? No. Yeah, I think he got a bag kicked on him, actually.
I can't remember. Well, for those who don't know, we got fairly comfortably beaten by Port Melbourne.
Charlie Lazaro.
Charlie Rosario, he had a point to prove, and he was probably best on. I think he had 10 in the first quarter. I can't really remember Whitlock doing a lot, but I was in and out of watching the game. Apologies for that. Of note, Cooper Harvey was playing the back line. So
what the hell's going on
Well,
there?
I think that's the development. It's a development league, if you want to look at it like that. No, obviously not for Port Melbourne, because they're a standalone, proud VFL or ex-VFA club. But for us, if we want Cooper in, maybe they're saying you have to trail a man. You have to, be defensively accountable, go and play in the back line and learn that.
Yeah, well, I think he's next in. The massive pressure on Constanti's spot for mine.
Yeah. I agree. I wouldn't mind seeing him play this week. We're playing the MCG, so it's a bigger ground.
Geordie, then maybe.
Geordie smashed someone in a tackle in the... he was sort of second in, or the bloke had stepped someone, he got him in the side. It was like a spear tackle. It would have hurt. I loved it.
Yes. Well, to answer your question...
what are we talking about?
Cal Dawson.
I think he's out this week. I mean, we'll do a preview pod, hopefully, unless you get sick again.
Well, I won't laugh and say no, because...
No, well, you had the gastro and it went through both our houses, and I missed out. Touch wood, that I've missed out completely. Because this is the problem when you have young kids go to school. They bring everything home.
Correct.
All the
As
bugs.
a lot of our listeners would be well aware.
They'd be well aware.
We'll move on to Dave OC24, who's given his thoughts. He said, I was sitting behind the goals. Elmac was huge, down 5 centimetres plus all day, never lost a match-up and was clean by hand.
Yes, no, I agree. And he went on, when Dawson went off, he went on to Voss.
Yes.
And did a good job, well undersized.
Had a huge tackle that we mentioned in that fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Matty O'Dwyer, how many close games would we have won? How many of the close games would we have won if Clarko was coaching from the bench? That's an interesting question. I haven't really thought about that. I don't think it would have made a ton of difference.
I don't think. And knowing Clarko, he'd probably be suspended.
When Sherry got his head smashed, I reckon Clarko would have come on and just given his opinion to the... Well, you know what he's like against Freo at the Optus? He doesn't mind umpiring on the side. That famous holding the ball call in the win where Caro said he was too happy. Remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, good old Caro. She's having a good run at the moment. Moving on, next question from No Idea. Do we only know how to be the hunters and not the hunted? That's a really interesting question. I think we've had the last 6 years, and I don't want to use a Clarkoism here, we haven't been in the game late, so... We're still working out how to do it. It's an interesting point, though. What we are seeing is a bit of the old Chimbona spirit back, where the last quarter fightbacks.
Yeah. I was thinking, I haven't seen... When was we probably did it once or twice, but when was the last time we would 5 goals down and came back and got right back in it?
Did against Port, we did against, well, not quite 5, but against Essendon.
Yeah.
Brisbane, we were down about 4 goals.
So we're seeing it a lot this year, and before this year, when we seen it, that was sort of more my point.
Oh, I wouldn't know.
No.
But not very often.
Oh, probably.
We're barely in the game.
Probably Gold Coast when they went on hholiday. In the round 23 match.
Down at the Boot Park.
Yeah, down at Boot Park. We came from about 5 goals down that game.
But it's an interesting point, and it's definitely an area we're going to grow, but so often in the past 5 or 6 years, and this is just where you sort of fall out of love with footy and it becomes a bit of a chore, but especially the back end of that Noble era and the start of the Clarkson era, we're out of games at half time.
Yeah, I know. And it's just, you're just thinking, I hope we don't get smashed by 100. Yeah. That's what you're thinking. And, we only lost by 9 goals. That was good.
That's a good loss.
Yeah, it's terrible. We never, ever want to go back there again.
No, we don't. We'll move over to X with the North Merchant, who says Parker goes into the midfield in the 4th for Simpkin, has 8 touches and a goal, compared to Simpkin, who had just 6 touches up to 3/4 time. And then he was sent to the wing in the 4th. Obviously a down game for Jai, but keen to hear your thoughts on this. Well, yeah,
he's analysed it better than we did, because I wasn't noting. I did notice him on the wing, but I thought he might have had more wing time. But if he's had 3/4 midfield and forward, it's easy to get frozen out in the half-forward flank, isn't it? Like those...
Especially in a game that's wet and it's a lot of territory and not play.
Yes. So
well, we had 5 in the last. So when we changed the game style at 3/4 time. He has 5 in the last.
Yeah.
So that's probably where I'm looking. And I like I said earlier in the pod, I think it was his worst game of the year.
Yeah, and it's hard to have 4 or 5, or what have we got? 8 midfielders running through them.
14.
Let's just say 5. It's hard to have them all getting 23 plus, isn't it? There's always one who's down. But yeah, he's not. We'll just let him off that one.
Rue Tragic next says Robbie Hansen Jr. just on a quarter of footy has 7 disposals that include 5 score involvements and 3 score assists. Yes, that's AFL stats that don't add up. But when people will start to see he's one of when will people start to see he's one of the few players who deliver it well inside 50?
Yeah,
well, I've been saying that whenever he's
we've
played.
been hot on him. That first game he played up the field a bit more down at Boot Park, and he showed a bit on the wing because if he can get some space, he will use it better than most of our list.
Yeah, the knock on him is his defensive.
He can't tackle.
No.
But on the wing, well, you're 1-on-1 more, aren't you? And if he can get it out the back, I mean, last week was Elmac kicked it to him, and his man marked it in front of him where he had plenty of space out the back. Just give it a bit more air and get it over the back to him and let him run onto it.
So my question is to you then, what do you want? Like, if you had to pick one, you can play a Constanti who you know will lay the tackles but butcher the footy. And that's probably a bit harsh. He did on the weekend, but
yeah.
I think that's probably a bit strong for the year from me. But let's keep going with it anyway. Or Robbie Hansen Jr., who you know is going to hit the target, but there's going to be missed tackles, and that's where you've got to sort of pick your poison.
Yeah, but they play different positions. Like, I think Robbie's playing more half-forward wing.
He is.
Whereas Cassandi's the manic pressure in the forward line.
And Rue Tragic's also said here, is it time for Constanti to end his run, ? And then he's put bench, ? Well, I think Constanti's had a good run at it, and then he can go back to the twos like a Hansen Jr. with a specific set of things he needs to work on.
Yep.
There's been lots of comments on the socials about him being a Kano 2.0, where his pressure's good, but he's not hitting the scoreboard.
Yep.
I'd like to see someone else given a go.
I think Geordie Payne. I think he can play that same role. Now, he's gone up in the midfield in the VFL, but he can come in and play that role. He's strong enough to tackle him and make him stay tackled, and give him a go. Because if it's just like for like, if you want to go a different way, you could bring in Cooper Harvey if you want more scoreboard pressure, but you might drop off. Depends on the team structures and how they want to structure up. And we're going to the MCG, which is a bigger ground, although Optus is the same size, so 2 weeks in a row, similar size grounds. Yeah, it'll be interesting how they go. But I think Sandy's had a fair run at it, and he's been okay. He's got flaws. He's got some elite pressure he can bring. So it just depends on how they want to structure up.
Yeah.
But if you want like for like I said, Geordie Payne probably deserves a go. He's out of contract at the end of the year, as is Cooper Harvey. So maybe Geordie gets a go.
Geordie gets first crack, and then if he doesn't do it. But Bench, he'll put his hand up as well. We've seen a lot of the mid-season draft actually already debut. I reckon there's been at least half a dozen.
Yeah, the bloke for West Coast who went number
He
one.
went all right, didn't he? Lazy 31 off half-back.
Yeah.
How easy's AFL footy.
Yeah.
Nathan Granger's he's outlined how we've shot ourselves in the foot, about how I didn't bring this up, so it's a good thanks, Nathan. But Jack Darling, great game, but he had to bring that last foray forward to ground.
Yeah, we should have brought that up because that's his go-to, isn't it? That's what they keep saying. He doesn't get outmarked. But I mean, that Cyclone Tracy is a very good mark, isn't he?
If is, and but we had the 3-on-1. I don't know what the hell Freo are doing. They're going to review and go, what's going on here?
If it got to the ground or over the back, it was a walking goal.
And then he gave us another look, the Typhoon, because he shanked it out in the full.
Yeah, so it just wasn't meant to be.
No, exactly. But he's made it. I forgot. So I mentioned in the Q1 notes, but I was a bit shaky because I write the notes, right? And you're the same. You put holding the ball, WTF, and you forget sort of the context. But the Sheezel one in the first quarter, I've remembered it now that he said it. He said it's the worst call I've seen. And that's because, if you remember, he actually handballed it. And they called it holding the ball or incorrect disposal. And it ended up going down, transitioning for a goal.
Yeah.
And then he's listed all the other ridiculous, free kicks that we've shot ourselves in the foot with. Sorry, that weren't called, and then what we shot ourselves in the foot with like the Foss miss and the Elmac handball was the only thing he did wrong all day. But yeah, it's a lot of what could have been, but we're heading in the right direction is my biggest takeaway anyway.
Yeah, I just, I don't want to bag the umpires, but can we have one?
Oh,
When was the last time we had a game where we had the rub? We've had decisions that have gone our way, but when have we had for the game, they've gone our way? And it's not the ones they pay, it's as well. It's more the ones they don't pay, like Big X getting his head taken off.
Oh, no. It's ridiculous. We'll do two more before we finish up. Just being conscious of the time here. Rowan Stewart, is it possible to be happier after tonight's loss than last week's win? Well, we described this off the top, and I gave my thoughts. What do you think?
I know I was much happier with a loss, and I don't want to be happy with losses. I don't want close losses, but we played a lot better than we did the week before, where we should have been beaten by West Coast. And Freo helped us out a bit too. We shouldn't forget. They missed some gettable goals.
Yeah, they did. But if you look at our form line the last sort of 5, 6, 7, whatever weeks it is, we've only had one loss by more than 10 points, and that was to Collingwood when we were actually up at three-quarter time or down 3. We're right in the game.
We're in the game, Clarko. We're in the game at three-quarter time.
But they are, a serious...
Well, they're premiership favourites along with Geelong. So...
Oh, we're going to that game too. Oh, dear. That could get ugly if
we
we don't
are
bring
too.
the pressure, but...
Yes, we're going to the Geelong game because that was meant to be our 100th year celebration game.
Yeah.
And then the club changed us on us, and we've booked flights and accommodation.
Yeah, thanks, Jen.
Yep.
And Co.
Yeah, well done.
whoever sorted that out. Probably not Jen, probably just throwing her under the bus. But last question here, I like this one, and this is a bit of a debate we can have. Ash Wright says, is Dylan Stevens our most improved player this year?
Yeah, I think he is, and I was thinking about this before the pod, actually, to bring it up. And, you could argue PC because the stats say he's come from 225 AFL wide to 9. But Dylan Stevens wasn't in our best 23 when we did it at the start of the year, back in January.
No, he wasn't.
And to be fair, he wasn't even close. We were expecting him to have this sort of year last year, and then we'd almost sold the farm on him, even though he's on a 5-year, he's got the Jared Pollock contract. But he's been really good. And since he came back in, he's shaky start when he was a sub, and then he went back to the VFL. But once he's come in and been given the wing full time, he's doing really well. I'd like him to fix up. Just like him to be an elite kick. I think he's a good, neat kick, but a couple of times Larky on the lead, he's not hitting him his chest, which where Larky wants it. Get the Dukes out in front, but he's just go over his head. So you've got to be elite to do that. He's not quite at that level, but he's tracking very well with all his other metrics.
Again on the weekend, another really important contest, lays the tackle, creates the stoppage. His defensive work,
It's
guy,
changed.
Ash, you're 100% spot on.
Yeah.
He's had a really good year, and if I'd guess at the moment he'd be top 10 in the Sid Barker because he's...
Easily.
I think he's 7th or 6th now. Ryan Bassanek played.
Yeah, I forget he missed a few games and he was sub, so he misses out on votes then, doesn't he? Like more for the Sid.
But he's showing every bit of why he was a top 5 selection.
Yeah, and there was a time on the weekend when he was on his man and there was a loose ball, and I thought, like this time last year, he would have stayed with his man, and I yelled, go. Like, you had to go. And as I yelled it, he went. And I'm not saying he heard me, but that's his mentality. I think he just had that half a second to think, oh, no, this is me. I've got to go. He went. He halved the contest. He either tackled or got the ball first and then absorbed the tackle. And we didn't see that from him previously. So he's really improved his game.
Yeah, and we'll do one more here. Errol Kane just spoke about... Freo's captain Caleb Sarong and the red hot crack he had in the last quarter with 13 possessions. I mean, it's another game where a small midfielder's torched us in the last with Merritt earlier in the year.
Yes, we can.
And Sarong's I don't buy into any of the Vic Bayer stuff, except sometimes in the media. Like, I don't, anything else, Vic Bias, whatever, but I think he's underrated, Sarong, and he'd be a massive chance Brownlow night.
You can get player A and player B, and they're exactly the same, right? But if you put a jumper on them from a big Victorian club or on player A, they'll be talked about higher than player B, who might be from a smaller Victorian club or an interstate club.
Well, I agree with that. Yes.
Yeah, so that's the bias, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine
So-
if Shees was at Carlton.
Yeah, exactly. Well, some journo put Sam Walsh as an A grader,
Yeah,
famously.
well, we're not giving him the time. of
He
day.
didn't have cheese in.
No.
Give me a break.
And he wouldn't put
And he
X
didn't
in.
have X in. Right, I'm ending the pod now.
Yes, we are going to end it, but I'm just going to preview. I'm coming off the long run at the Mainlanders.
Oh,
Next pod.
okay.
After all the backlash about the stadium and the conditions Friday night when you and I are there,
Yep.
I've got some strong thoughts on the media from the mainland. So
Yeah, not all the mainland. It's just the media.
well, not our loyal bonus,
No.
not our listeners,
No.
but the media from the mainland
Yeah,
are going to
so
cop it.
Just making sure you clarify that.
But thanks again for tuning in, guys, and please like and subscribe on whatever listening platform you are on. If you're on YouTube, make sure we have a lot of our listeners that are listening, but you might think you subscribe, but you're not. So just make sure you are if you're happy to support us. It doesn't cost anything. And when we get to 500, we'll be giving a random subscriber, we'll be getting a merch pack.
Oh, okay.
So make sure you subscribe to be in line for that.
Yeah, you want me to put my hand in my pocket, no doubt, for that?
Yep.
Okay, done. Done. Fair enough.
Off
All right.
Big cheese. I was about to call it Big Chiefs coin. So
Yeah, very good.
thanks again, guys. We'll be back to preview a really winnable game against the Blues this coming Saturday at the Home of Football.
Yes, I've already tipped us.
Yep. So
Done my tips already. So let's hope Kerno's out and Big Harry's not back.
Yep. Well, Walsh is already out with
But,
turf toe,
I
which
mean,
we'll
at
touch
the end of
on.
the day, we shouldn't have to worry about other people playing. I think if we bring what we've brought last week, and we've shown the majority of the last 5 weeks, we'll certainly give them a good run. All right, until then, bye from me. Carnakangas.
Thanks again, guys. Until next time, go Roos!
Good old North Melbourne, they're champions, you'll agree. North Melbourne is the team that plays to win.